Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Omni viewer, and this is part 2 of a yet-to-be-determined number of parts for the Q&A special. So, let's not beat around the bush, and jump right into the questions for this round.
Zilla Universe asks, 1. Have you watched Steven Universe? Because I have, and I'm a big fan of it.
I've seen bits and pieces of Steven Universe, but I can't really say I'm a fan of it. Just didn't grab me.
2. Have you heard of the animated kaiju film on Cartoon Network called Fire Breather, and could you review it?
Heard of it and seen it. I intend to review it at some point.
3. Do you think there should be more animated kaiju movies?
I do indeed, so long as they're made by people who understand what makes a good kaiju film and know how to take full advantage of the animated medium.
4. Should the Pacific Rim franchise continue as an animated series?
Well, considering Legendary is no longer partnered with Universal, maybe? I really don't know at this point.
5. What Godzilla crossovers would you like to see?
Answered that question in part 1. Next.
6. What movies do you like or hate that everyone else hates or loves?
Either one of those could be a video unto themselves, but I don't necessarily want to just leave it hanging. As far as movies I like that other people hate, I would certainly put the DC Extended Universe movies on that list. I mean, everything prior to Aquaman, except for Wonder Woman, is generally reviled, but I think they're okay. And of course other movies I've reviewed such as Van Helsing or Frank Miller's The Spirit. As far as movies I don't like that other people do like, I'd have to say the majority of slasher films. For my own part, I feel that if you're going to have extreme violence in a movie, it needs to actually serve a purpose. Even if you can't really stomach watching it, it's got to be there for a reason, and the vast majority of slasher movies are just violent for the sake of spectacle, and I don't think that's as effective.
7. Does the idea of a hand-drawn animated King Kong film or show that takes place in a steampunk setting sound like an amazing idea?
It would certainly look amazing, but hopefully it would have more than just aesthetics going for it.
8. Have you watched the YouTuber Big Jack Films, and could you join his group?
I can't really say I've seen any of Big Jack Films' work, but I could check it out. As far as me joining his group, well, I don't know at this point.
9. Are you going to do an atomic roast on Walking with Dinosaurs 3D?
First I have to see it and determine if it's truly roast-worthy.
Devin Devin asks, 1. What is your favorite My Little Pony Friendship is Magic episode?
At the moment, I would say Stranger Than Fanfiction. That's an episode that everyone, regardless of what fandom they're in, should probably check out at some point.
2. Do you like any of the Equestria Girls movies?
The first 3 are good. After that, quality tends to vary.
3. What do you prefer in a story, the plot or the characters?
I would say the characters. The characters are what the audience really gets invested in. Your plot can be as simple as go over there and get the thing. But if your characters are really good and your audience really cares about them, going over there and getting the thing is the most important journey ever.
4. Other than kaiju films and MLP, what other media are you into?
Oh, all sorts of things. I'm called Omni for a reason. I like a lot of different kinds of animation, like anime, and I especially like Warner Brothers animated works, from the classic Looney Tunes to stuff from the 90s like Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, and Freakazoid. I'm also a fan of science fiction in general, whether it's literature, film, or TV series. Big fan of the Muppets. Musically, I enjoy stuff from classical compositions to classic rock to power metal to movie soundtracks. I enjoy superhero comics. I enjoy manga. I just enjoy a whole bunch of different things, really.
5. What is your favorite kaiju of all time?
You mean other than the obvious choices? I would have to say Rodan. He's just one that's always appealed to me.
Jack Spade asks, for Omni, 1. Which do you prefer, the 2003 Full Metal Alchemist or Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood?
Well, I generally agree with the assessment that the 2003 series has a better first half and Brotherhood has a better second half, but if I had to pick overall, I'd go with the original. I just think it's a stronger overall series. I know Brotherhood follows the original manga more closely, especially by the end, but there's just something about that original series that really clicked.
2. Who is your favorite antagonist in Full Metal Alchemist?
Now that is an interesting one. Especially since the way Full Metal Alchemist is structured, you don't necessarily know who the antagonists truly are until the chips are really down. But I would say Lust is an interesting villain. Not for the reasons that may have initially jumped into your mind, but because she has an interesting motivation, especially in the original series.
3. Any thoughts on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
No, because I haven't seen it yet. It has been recommended to me, so I'll try checking it out at some point.
4. If you could build your own model of Mechagodzilla, what weapons and equipment would it have?
I think I'd give him some kind of rear defense. Most Mechagodzillas are designed to attack what's directly in front of them. So, giving him something like electrified dorsal plates for if somebody tried getting at him from behind, that could be interesting.
5. Any thoughts on Godzilla the series from 1998, and will you review it in the future?
It's pretty good, definitely better than the movie that spawned it, and I will try to review it at some point. Just a matter of finding a right way to do it.
6. Have you listened to Trivium? If so, what songs do you like?
Haven't yet. I'll try giving them a listen.
7. Favorite episode of MLP so far?
Just answered that one. Next.
8. Which of the Billy and Mandy movies do you prefer?
Probably the first official one, Billy and Mandy's Big Boogie Adventure. That one felt like it had the most effort put into it.
9. What other cartoons and anime do you prefer?
Well, I already mentioned that I enjoy a lot of Warner Brothers animation, like Looney Tunes and the shows from the 90s that were inspired by Looney Tunes. Though I also enjoy Disney stuff, like their original Robin Hood movie, both incarnations of DuckTales, especially the reboot. That show is amazing. And, of course, the 2 Irish animated films I reviewed on this channel, Secret of Kells and Song of the Sea. As far as anime, well, I enjoy stuff like Trigun and Outlaw Star and Cowboy Bebop, but also more obscure things like Alien 9 or Neoranga or Excel Saga. Well, I guess Excel Saga is not that obscure if you're part of the older otaku range, as much as that can be. And, of course, Fooly Cooly. Fooly Cooly is the series that got me into anime in the first place, so that one holds a special place in my heart. It also dictated what kind of series I like. Series that are off-kilter. And there's plenty of that in anime.
10. Do you own any of the Trendmasters Godzilla figures? If so, I envy you greatly.
Oh yeah, I've got quite a few of them. They're all packed away at the moment, but rest assured, I do have them. I unfortunately don't have the Varan, Megalon, and Baragon figures, but those were nearly impossible to find even when they were available. And none of the Doom Island prototypes. Of course, something that's a regular fixture of my background is this little Godzilla Force badge that came with some of the Godzilla Force human figures. Still got it, still works.
11. Favorite out of the main 7?
I'd say Applejack. Her honesty and affinity for headgear are things I can relate to.
12. Have you seen any Shaw Brothers films? If so, which do you like? If not, I highly recommend them, especially classics from the 70s and 80s.
I honestly don't know. If I have, I didn't know they were Shaw Brothers films. So I'll have to get back to you on that one.
For Snazzy, 1. What's your favorite episode of MLP?
I'd actually have to go with Omni on the whole stranger than fanfiction thing.
2. Favorite out of the main 7?
Well, Starlight Glimmer has certainly grown on me.
3. Favorite food?
Just about anything Italian.
4. What cartoons and anime do you prefer?
I'll watch whatever's on, or whatever is in our collection.
5. Favorite Godzilla film hands down?
I'm going with the 1984 movie, Return of Godzilla.
6. Favorite kaiju other than Godzilla?
Varan. He deserves way more respect than he gets.
7. Other than kaiju, what films do you like?
Comedies, war movies, sci-fi. I'm easy.
For Sir Adam Lexington, 1. What films do you enjoy?
I find that I am quite nostalgic for the lost art of silent filmmaking. The original adaptation of Jules Verne's From the Earth to the Moon is a particular favorite of mine.
2. What music do you prefer?
I enjoy many a classical composition, though I am also quite fond of such bands as Omni and The Cog is Dead.
3. Have you ever encountered the Eldrazi in your travels?
Encountered them? Good sir, I changed the very course of their history, though you'll never hear them admit that.
4. Have you collected any treasure or valuable items in your adventures?
I have indeed. They are collected in various vaults across the country.
5. Met any elves in your adventures?
I have indeed. From those who sailed from Middle-earth to the Grey Havens, to those who work at the North Pole making toys for the December 25th celebrations. I also am one of the few people who knows the true location of the Keebler tree.
Eliud Espino writes, 1. Have you ever considered having an artist to make your thumbnails or in-video images for new uploads?
I have thought about it, but I want to pay them in some way, and I'm just barely making enough money off of YouTube and Patreon as it is to scrape by on my own. So, for the moment, I'm just relying on my own work, as low grade as it can be.
2. How would you have made a Godzilla, Mothra, Kong, Gamera, and Ultraman anime series?
You mean like all of them in the same series? Okay, just off the top of my head, here's what I would do. So, start off in the Ultraman world. Ultraman is having a hard time defeating this one monster, and in swoops Gamera, flies in, helps Ultraman beat the monster, and then flies away. Science Patrol is shocked. They do a little research, figure out that Gamera is a creature from Earth's past, because if you remember, the original Ultraman series was set in 1993, 1994, which was the future for back then. So, okay, after that, they figure out that this is Gamera, they go looking for Gamera, and they find themselves on a chain of islands. Infant Island, Monster Island, and Skull Island, where, of course, Mothra, Godzilla, and King Kong respectively stay. And they find that Gamera sort of goes between all of these islands on kind of a regular patrol of sorts. And as they're discovering this, some kind of new alien threat comes in. Maybe it's the Baltons, or maybe it's something completely new. Or maybe it's like a collection of different space foes from Godzilla and Gamera and whatnot. Either way, something happens that threatens the entire world, so the Science Patrol is off to try figuring out what to do, and of course that calls Gamera, Godzilla, Mothra, and King Kong off of the islands to go on a world tour fighting alongside Ultraman. Yeah, I really should be writing this down.
2. Again, don't ask me. Which real-world animal that bears the most resemblance to a kaiju would you like to have as a pet, or is that already Snazzy?
Well, Snazzy is a very close friend who is like a brother to me and would never be treated as a pet. You gotta let me finish, pal. As for what real-world animal, I don't know, anything reptilian would technically work. Though, honestly, I'm a dog person.
3. Do you play any instruments? If so, which one?
I took some piano lessons when I was younger. People told me I was good, but I never really felt truly comfortable playing it, and I tended to be a bit of a perfectionist, so I got more frustrated when I messed up than I ever got enjoyment out of playing. And these days I am very, very out of practice. So I can sort of play the piano, but just barely and not very well.
4. Would you watch a Godzilla-themed Monster Girl anime series?
I don't know how to answer that.
5. Which other movie company or studio would you have entrusted to make the Monsterverse?
The fact of the matter is, you don't know what studio's gonna do a good job until they actually produce the movie. And even then, it depends on whether or not they hire people who understand what they're doing. and what makes a good monster movie. So, Warner Brothers and Legendary just happen to be the right studios to produce the MonsterVerse. But honestly, way back in the day, Columbia TriStar seemed like the right studio because they were distributing the original Godzilla movies. And look at how that turned out, because they hired people who didn't understand the Godzilla movies and didn't really want to understand. So, I don't know. It doesn't really come down to what studio would have been better. It comes down to the individuals who make the film itself.
6. Are you aware of the Team Fortress 2 universe? If so, what are your thoughts on it, and is Sexton Hale a match for Godzilla? If not, you have some serious homework to do, boy.
Great. I thought I was done with homework when I got out of school. Well, excuse me.
7. Do you have a kaiju waifu?
I don't really look at kaiju that way, though I guess the 50-foot woman would be the safest answer. Or would she? You know what? I plead the 5th.
8. Would you rather have Godzilla in the Marvel universe like he used to be, or in the DC universe? This can apply to movies, comics, or cartoons.
Well, we've already seen Godzilla in the Marvel universe, so seeing him in the DC universe would be something new. I'm still hoping, even though I know it's improbable, I'm still hoping that maybe the stars will align and allow the MonsterVerse and the DC Extended Universe to cross over. I mean, there was a giant monster in Aquaman, so who knows?
9. What is a video game series that you would like to see adapted into a movie or TV series?
Primal Rage. That would be interesting. And if it was done right, StarCraft. StarCraft would be really cool. And it would be really big in Korea.
10. Should Godzilla be considered if he kills John Wick's dog?
Maybe this is a friendly version of Godzilla who saved John Wick's dog, and thus there doesn't need to be a problem.
11. Which ancient mythology would you like to see adapted on the big screen? 2 I would like to see would be the Odyssey and a movie-accurate Thor.
I kind of want to see ancient Egyptian mythology adapted to the big screen. Normally when ancient Egypt is portrayed in the movies, it's either a grounded historical epic, as in something that we think could have plausibly happened historically, an adaptation of Antony and Cleopatra, an adaptation of the Book of Exodus, or ancient astronaut theory. I haven't really seen that much in the way of just exploring the actual mythology. Closest thing we got was Gods of Egypt, but Gods of Egypt was awful. Just, So, I'd kind of want to see a proper example of ancient Egyptian mythology on the big screen.
12. When Disney acquires Fox, would you like to see a Predator integrated as a member of the Avengers?
Well, that's already happened by this point. I don't think the Predator would necessarily make a good Avenger, but he would make interesting opposition for Kraven the Hunter. Also, we could have the Alien Queen join the Disney Princess line. I know she's a queen and not a princess, but that didn't stop Elsa.
13. Which Transformer would you like to see introduced or redone in future, hopefully tolerable movies?
I say devote a live-action movie to Dinobot from Beast Wars. He was the best part of that series, and he could definitely carry his own film. I mean, we've already gotten some hints of Beast Wars as far back as the first movie when Scorponok showed up. I mean, granted, it's still possible that Bumblebee movie everyone is fawning over was a fluke and the Transformers movies will go back to being terrible, but on the off chance that they don't, Dinobot movie. Come on, why not?
14. Are you familiar with SCPs and the SCP Foundation? If so, would you like to see it expanded upon in other forms of media?
I am indeed familiar with SCPs. I'm not deep into the lore, but I do know some stuff about it. And it would definitely make for an interesting series. Maybe something along the lines of American Horror Story being an anthology series of sorts. But it would also, an anthology series would be good because, as I understand it, there are different kinds of plot lines you can follow for SCPs depending on what sort of angle you want to take. So you could have one season following one particular storyline, another season following a different one. Yeah, I think a series would be a good way to do it.
15. Do you believe that the MonsterVerse should be focused only on kaiju, or should it expand to include things such as classic stories like Dracula and Frankenstein, as well as including cryptids and unnatural/paranormal phenomena?
Well, I wouldn't be opposed to introducing cryptids. I think they would fit in quite naturally. But as far as creatures like vampires and werewolves and stuff, well, it's possible it could be done, but they'd really need to expand on the world quite a bit before they could properly introduce something truly supernatural like that. Depending on what happens with Mothra, that might be opening the door, but for now, let's just stick with more naturalistic stuff and see where things go.
16. Have you ever considered creating some kind of forum on a site where writers can submit their work to you so that you may review and offer constructive criticism to help improve their stories and characters, or give them a better understanding as to how a work of literature can function?
This is a bit of a shameless plug, but the highest tier on my Patreon account does allow you to submit either a short story or the first chapter of a novel if you want some feedback on it. So I haven't really had many takers on that one, but if you're interested, links in the description.
17. What is one role from any pre-existing work of fiction that you would most want to perform as on the big screen?
I've always had an affinity for the old pulp heroes. I think especially the Spider. He was kind of a character who was based on the Shadow, but quickly veered off in his own direction and became very distinct, and influenced a later Spider-themed hero who you may have heard of. I think he'd be interesting to portray. He would definitely need some kind of big screen adaptation. Long overdue for one. He had movie serials back in the 40s and that was it. So if I ever get big enough to start making it in Hollywood, the Spider is on my list.
18. With so many great and memorable car chases in movies, which one do you feel is the best?
I don't necessarily know if I'd call it the best, but one that's always stuck out in my mind is from the Denzel Washington movie Deja Vu. It kind of is time travel-ish, not really traveling through time, but more using technology to be able to see into the past and have it play out in front of you in real time, which they're trying to solve a crime using this stuff, which leads to them trying to figure out where the criminal went. So while Denzel's wearing these goggles or glasses that allow him to see where the criminal's driving in the past, he's driving after him in the present. It's very confusing to try describing if you haven't seen the movie, but trust me, it's definitely unique. Regardless of what you might think of the rest of that movie, the car chase scene is definitely memorable. Again, I don't know if I'd call that the absolute best, or even the best one I've seen, but it's always stuck in my memory since I saw it, so that's gotta count for something.
19. What, in your opinion, makes a character more compelling? Having a goal to achieve, or having a great sense of motivation or drive?
I think it's the motivation and the drive that should really be emphasized, because the goal can be just about anything. The goal can be something that's completely impossible to achieve, but as long as your character is motivated and driven and believes it can be achieved, that's what people will latch onto. Look at Star Wars. Luke Skywalker's goal is to become a Jedi Knight and defeat the Empire that's got a chokehold on the galaxy. Those are goals which cannot be achieved in the real world. No one in reality is ever going to be able to use the Force, fight with a lightsaber, and save the galaxy from evil. But he believes it can be done. He has that drive. He has that desire. And really, when you get down to it, that desire is a desire to be great, a desire to do good in the universe, which is something a lot of people can relate to. So ultimately, the specifics of his goal don't matter. What matters is what's driving him, and that's what we connect to.
20. What field of work have you considered being in?
When I was a little kid obsessed with dinosaurs, I wanted to be a paleontologist. In retrospect, it's a good thing I did not actually pursue that goal, because I would be terrible at it. I am not cut out for field work, and yeah, it just wouldn't have been a good fit for me. Just being a fan of dinosaurs is vastly different from actually digging them up. But once I discovered entertainment, that became my single focus, and I never looked back. This has always been my goal, and so far I'm doing pretty well in it.
Questions for Snazzy. 1. If Roland Emmerich were to make a movie of you, how would you think he would have you designed?
He'd probably invert my spines and give me a Jay Leno chin. That would not be a good look for me.
2. What is your natural habitat, diet, and ecology?
Omniviewer's place, food from the fridge, and temperate zone.
3. Are you able to show us any examples of your biology or anatomy?
Excuse me? This is a family-friendly YouTube page, sir.
4. How well do you believe you will be able to live on your own if you account the many variables factoring in today's geopolitical climate?
Well, I can survive in the wild if I have to, so I think I'd get by.
5. Will we ever see a mecha version of you?
Once I find a suitable power supply.
6. What is the bane of your existence?
Idiots.
7. If you could create your own business, what would it be?
Getting rid of idiots.
8. If a zombie apocalypse were to suddenly happen, what gear would you have from any work of fiction to aid in your defense? Gear must be 1 terrain-based vehicle, 1 long-range firearm, 1 short-range firearm, 1 melee weapon, and 1 shielding tool.
Armored truck, bazooka, Tommy gun, mace, and Captain America's shield.
9. What is your favorite music genre, and can you provide an example?
I'm quite fond of the classic rock genre. I'd play you some examples, but we'd get a copyright strike if we did, so, you'll just have to take my word for it.
10. What new game mechanics would you implement into a kaiju fighting game?
Transformation. I haven't seen that much in those kind of games.
Put on some pants.
No.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, as well as subscribe to the channel for more content of a similar nature. Also, check the description for links to our Twitter, DeviantArt, and Patreon pages, as well as the Amazon link for the novel Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, penned by yours truly. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.